I love whenever there's a new uniform in the NFL. Today, the Washington football team unveiled its new identity, which of course meant a new uniform. I didn't realize they'd be showing off the new uniforms the same day as the team name, but I'm all for it. First, I'd like to say I really liked Washington's placeholder uniforms over the last 2 years as they transitioned from the Redskins to the Commanders. It was basically a slightly modernized Redskins uniform. The numbers on the helmet, the yellow face mask, both of which I'll miss in the new uniform, the W logo, the new Washington font. I won't go too far reminiscing a uniform that's not going to be worn anymore, but I really liked it. It matched the name Washington Football Team, which is a name I thought was quite underrated. They showed up, they played football, and they looked like a traditional football team. Not having a mascot was kind of cool in my opinion. No other team was doing it, and despite not having a mascot, the team definitely had an identity. I see a lot of Washington football since I live in Virginia, and it felt like they hardly ever in the last 2 years wore anything besides their white uniform, which further embraced their underdog team with no identity. I just wanted to give that some attention before the small era of the WFT is forgotten. Enough about the football team, though, because now we're on to the Commanders. For starters, I like that they stuck with the W they've had as the football team. Well, it's really close to it anyway. They changed it just a tad, a few stripes that were tastefully added, and I think they look good. The new helmet has a matte metallic look, and we'll see how that ages over time, but at first glance it doesn't look bad. I really miss the yellow face mask, especially since they don't appear to have a yellow pants option anymore, but perhaps they'll release one someday like the Ravens did by adding the fan favorite purple pants in 2018. The face mask is gone, but there's a yellow stripe in the middle of the helmet, which is a nice touch. The player numbers have been moved to the back of the helmet instead of the side, and I'm glad they kept the numbers on the helmet because I've really enjoyed the Alabama-esque look they've had for the last 2 years. All in all, not a bad helmet at all, but it isn't their only option. I'll get to the alternate in just a minute, but I want to take a second to appreciate the first team embracing the NFL's new helmet rule, which allows for multiple helmets. I can't wait to see what new helmets we'll see from other teams in the near future. The home jersey is all right. I like the new shoulder stripes, even though there was nothing wrong with the old ones, and the number font has the neat touch of the white accent lines, much like the ones in the new W logo. It's cohesive. The accent lines and the numbers remind me a bit of the Rams jerseys, toying with the art inside of the numbers, and I think that's a trend we'll probably see over the next few years in new uniforms. I don't mind Commanders being written on the chest. Its boldness reminds me of the Browns' poorly received uniforms back in 2015, but the overline and underline combo is a little off-putting. The pants are another big issue for me. They don't have any stripes. Now, I had the same concern when the Jaguars rolled out their new uniforms in 2019, but it only bothered me in the uniform reveal. Though it's definitely bland, it never looks bad when I see the Jaguars on the field. But Washington isn't the Jaguars. The Jags didn't have a competent uniform to begin with, so there was nothing to compare the stripeless design to. Washington, on the other hand, rid themselves of a perfectly good stripe, in my opinion. I fear that these pants will look ignorable on the field. Now let's get to those away jerseys. The first thing I noticed is a lack of yellow besides the Nike check. Pretty weird for a team that's been maroon and yellow for about 100 years. The second thing I notice is the strange grid gradient on the numbers and shoulders. It appears Washington's following the gradient trend set by the Atlanta Falcons and Los Angeles Rams in 2020. Interesting decision, given that the gradients haven't gone over so well with fans. I think this is the least obnoxious gradient so far, and it probably won't be too noticeable on the field. It's unique, but I really don't like it. The third thing I noticed is the addition of the black accent color to the number outline and on the sleeves. Washington's never had black in its color scheme, and it really still doesn't besides the new alternates. And don't worry, I'll get to those in a second. All I can figure is this. Having both black and maroon in the away jersey will give the team the option to wear a black helmet with this jersey, so that's kind of cool. There's a picture of Chase Young in the white jersey with black pants on, but it's hard to tell if they're just sweatpants or not. I'd be surprised if we don't eventually see the black helmet, white jersey, black pants combo at some point, even if it's not the original plan. On the back of the jersey above the nameplate is the Commander's new secondary logo, which in spite of being new, looks extremely classic. I think it's a nice touch, and I can't think of another team with a logo above the nameplate, and it might be my favorite part of these uniforms. Now let's look at that black alternate. Not every team needs a black alternate jersey, especially the team without black in its color scheme. Teams that have done this in the past: Lions, Eagles, 49ers, Jets, Cardinals. Not the Color Rush Cardinals with the red numbers. That one looks good. I'm talking about the other one. Yeah, that one. If I'm missing one here, let me know. Most of those teams ended up dropping their black uniforms because they didn't make any sense, and I'm looking at you, Lions. I get it. Black looks cool. It just doesn't fit every team. We can't all be the Raiders and Ravens. All that out of the way, this alternate seems to work, at least in my first impression of it. It's not the Commanders, but in black. It's a themed alternate. It's something of a soldier look with an Army-style badge on the shoulder, the Commanders patch over their heart, and the U.S. Army font on the numbers. I think this will be fun to see on the field. I like that the numbers return to the side of the black helmet like the Washington football team's helmet. Notice the metallic look is gone on this one. It's a classic glossy helmet, and that look doesn't seem to get old. My one qualm is the goofy W in the front of the helmet. It just looks strange to me. The only thing I've ever seen similar to it was the big Z on the front of the Arizona Hotshots uniform in the AAF. And even that blended better than this W does, in my opinion. I would kind of like to see a stripe on the helmet, but if you add a yellow stripe down the middle, the team could be mistaken for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a lot that's odd about these uniforms. Each of the three jerseys has its own number font and style, and as much as I don't love the Rams jerseys, which admittedly are starting to look better the more that they win, they at least have a pattern. They fit together. The Washington jerseys could easily belong to three different teams. One last note. These uniforms are much more fun than what I expected from a team that in my lifetime hasn't altered their style much at all. I think Washington took a few big swings here. After all, they're marking the beginning of a new era. And of course, with big swings come some big misses. But as much as people online are having knee-jerk reactions about these uniforms and calling them the worst in the NFL, they certainly aren't that bad. We've seen much worse, and we've seen teams make adjustments to bad uniforms over time. These uniforms aren't as bad as the 2015 Browns or the 2014 Buccaneers or the 2013 Jaguars. They also aren't as good as the 2011 Bills, 2013 Vikings, 2017 Lions, 2020 Chargers, or the 2021 Bengals, who all hit home runs in their redesigns. To me, Washington has a good starting point here. I'd put them in the same camp as the current Atlanta Falcons and New York Jets, though Washington is probably the worst of the three. These are teams whose uniforms are close to being good. A few tweaks, and I think each of these teams can have a long-term answer at the ever-important uniform position. Oh, and the name Commanders? I don't know. I'm not a names guy. I'm a uniform guy. Thanks for watching. I hope the Colts draft Malik Willis.